direction. They're on their way. So now you see a couple different schools. A couple guys, a lot of the guys look like they're going up to the right. Looks like we have Cody Webb that has worked his way right up there. You can see him in that yellow and blue gear as he works his way up. And now this looks like Little Letty. He's got the Red Bull helmet, and also he's on the KTM. So it looks like Little Letty is wasting no time getting rolling. But for a guy that has never been to the desert, he is definitely comfortable.
He is definitely on a roll, without a doubt.
So now you see the rest of the pack, and this is why it's so important, because now the guys, as they pull the different lines, they're going to be stuck behind them. And you can see some guys are boarding one line, because even though this is backdoor, sorry, I didn't mean to jump on top of you, Dave, but yesterday, that top ledge right there where we're seeing that rider on the KTM, that is where the race winner tipped over right before the finish. Josh Blyler went over, and they had to turn him back up.
That's Webb there. You can see him in the blue FXR gear, running third, I believe.
So what's awesome between the difference, and that's exactly what the motorcycles can go through this, because they can split left, split right traction. So in some cases, guys are going around. A lot of people will just use the rocks as traction to go up and go down. And also, this is not so narrow when it comes to motorcycles. We're going to see a lot of passing back and forth, but that dirt is a little bit heavier, so the dust is nowhere near as bad as it was for that.
Don't put a Red Bull sticker kit on your bike. It doesn't work. But it works for that guy.
So as we're watching backdoor on a certain minute at certain times, and when they get down in these canyons, we lose sight of that. The tracker won't ping. Desert. Look at what we're seeing, and that these guys are able to
see some helicopter footage as well.
That's right. So I love how, look at the two angles. The far left line is working good on this, and you think, oh, I'm going to run that main line, but now look, it starts to get broken down, and you got to work your way over. So if you can clean it, the line on the right is the way to go. But the right lines on the left seem to be a little bit safer, because you can get up on the plateau and traverse across the hill, so you're not climbing up so much. So,
you know, if you're the guy behind it, you could take one of those rocks and you can put you out of the race. Erzberg, one year we had that happen where a rider took his helmet off to rest, and
on the first turn takes his goggles off, because I cry every time that I see him come in. His eyes are just so beat because he's been riding all day with no goggles. But a lot of people
messes with the GPS, and you have to stop and basically reset, kind of like reboot your computer. They reboot their GPS, and it puts them back on track. So not only are you looking ahead and riding, but you're also looking down,
and you're searching for traction. That goes back to using that soft tire.
Yeah. And Cody's looks like the Rainbow Man going down the road. That FX gear is just outstandingly colorful. That looks like
Colton, I think this is Colton Haaker right here. I think he's coming up in second place. Just notice the position that as he comes down the hill, his leg comes back, his legs and his body comes back, so he's not stressing out. I've noticed when I do some training on guys with military and younger guys on motorcycles, they try to do everything with their hands, and your hands gas out immediately, so you can still spring in there. So I'd like a little bit more, but then again, I'm old. The difference that you would go with Supercross settings is completely different than outdoor motocross. Yep. So outdoor tour, the rebound is not too stiff. You're not skipping rebound, and a lot more cush, because the riders will just get worn out.
Yeah, that's the thing. When the first year they ran this, the guys showed up basically with their desert bikes, high-speed desert bikes, suspension-wise, and yeah, the finishing rate was horrible.
Yeah, I want the handheld. I got Lauren Healy up here. Everybody put your hands together for Lauren Healy.
Hey everybody, yeah, definitely was a wild race yesterday, very long. Keep your patience, ran kind of the perfect pace in the desert, and had started checking out on everybody when coming down Bender Alley, I just kissed the rear drive shaft on the skid plate.
So that's what it was. So the leaders, back to the race, leaders are through Moto Midway. Here you see Cody Webb, there's Colton Haaker right behind him in his dust. And so at this point of the race, just like you Lauren, you can't get up too close because you can't see, so it's almost better to wait and hold your time, because you know this desert.
I had to pull the skid plate off, and it's a job to do it. It took me about 45 minutes to get off. I'm sure everybody saw me laying under the car. When
we saw you under the car. We saw you behind the car. We saw you beating it on rocks and try not to get your feet run over. pissed off because you were leading the race and all the different things. The driver have to do to calm down as we're watching Cody Webb as he works his way through on that Shirka. You can't miss Cody. He's that guy, that 6'4" guy with those long legs and the Red Bull helmet. But Cody is, I think, the defending champion, or he's one
open rider as well. I mean, motocross, he's got the skills for that. I'm kind of leaning towards Colton as far as maybe being the guy who could handle the desert. But right now, as you look at it, shoot, these guys are, they're just in each other's dust is what they're doing.
Well, and they know that they don't need to sprint at this point. They got to save their energy because they ride a lot of times. But with the 40-inch tires, sometimes it's better just to go over the top.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of points that we put tire on rock intentionally rather.
Fire bottle in the cab.
All righty. Always wanted to show a little respect and love to those guys as we're watching some of the different riders that they go through. As we said before, Dave, is that not the typical desert bike. A lot of these guys are running 300 two-strokes because they like the 300. Gives them a little bit more torque, a little bit more bottom end and stuff like that. So that's why they're not going with the traditional 250. If they're on a Yamaha, they're on a 250 because that's.
And when he finished a couple years, that's Abbott right there. That's Cooper Abbott. I know that for sure. Most guys at 16 years old are out riding moto. Not James. He came and rode enduro, hard enduro, but he is just a good rider. And this year he's got an opportunity to ride for Sherco.
And ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for not having the name to everybody that we see out there because we're not on the trackers and it's hard to see. So we have to speculate on which Sherco rider it is, what KTM rider, and so on. I mean, obviously Cody Webb, he's pretty easy to spot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a tall, lanky guy with a Red Bull helmet. Same with Mani Lettenbichler with those red boots. So certain things as the race goes on we'll be able to identify more and more. But the greatest thing at this point is all the different shots that we're getting. As you can see the riders as they work their way through Moto Midway, and now they're heading up some of the different sections on the lower right. The crossover and just the individual themselves. I'm pretty sure we were watching Colton Haaker as he works his way up, and it looks like Colton has a lead at this point. But like I said, I'm speculating.
I'm going to give you a name that's scary. Tony Bowe actually expressed about when he retires from trials, he might try hard enduro. Wouldn't that be a kick to see Tony Bowe come to something like this?
Well, we had, the few years ago when I did this event, we had a couple guys finish the event, and now we're looking on the main screen. That is definitely Colton Haaker, number 10, as he works his way through. It looks like Colton has broken into the lead, and he's definitely picking up the pace. He's working pretty hard. So as we got an eye, that is our leader of the race at this point, Colton Haaker. I don't exactly know how much. In the past, when he said this is the best racing in the world, just no one ever gets to see it, just a bunch of cactus and lizards and stuff. But now with King of the Hammers and King of the Motos, what Dave Cole and Hammer Productions, the whole crew, it's obviously not a one-man band. There's the ladies, Stephanie, everybody that puts together such an unbelievable show. Here we see Cody Webb. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that's Mani Lettenbichler, and right behind him is Cody Webb. So that is, once again, your top three. As we see, we don't see Colton. There's Colton Haaker right there. And if they zoom back just a little bit, now notice that he has to run his GPS. He went the wrong way, so he has to work his way and come down there to find that track. So that's one of the hazards of being the first guy. But watch Colton Haaker, watch his body back and forth, sits down, leans forward as he applies the throttle, and then as he comes to a corner, stands up, leans back, gets that weight over the back wheel so that he can utilize a little bit more front brake. But his body is always one step ahead of the next move and not just coming in and reacting. So when I explain my braking, I say it in two steps. First is letting off the gas, the second is your body position back, and the third is braking. Now that happens within an instant. Watching Colton Haaker as he goes back and forth, it's such a fine balance of leaning forward and back.
Side tracking, right? Or he was coming slick, maybe not. There may be traction. He's actually reading the terrain and he's reading the rock surface at the same time, and that just comes from hours and hours of motorcycle riding.
Sometimes, but as we're watching Colton Haaker as he works his way through, and he's established himself a little bit of a lead. Up in the rocks, these riders are coming across the desert, but it's not as much desert as it was in the past.
Yeah, it's pretty much, it's all new terrain for these guys.
Yeah, we can, and I just started getting segmented times.
All right, we're getting a little report from some of the sections. Colton Haaker has a 26-second lead at this point, and ahead of Manuel. Cody Webb is only 30 seconds off the lead, and only 4 seconds behind Manuel. So just to clarify who is in second place, I was.
Those guys, honestly, the top 5 are like all with me.
So, yeah, it's a very tight between the top 3. But, yes, that is Mani Lettenbichler in second. Only 4 seconds behind him is Cody Webb. Dustin McCarthy, Tristan Hart, Jesse Burnside. So right now it's still anybody's race, but at the moment it is Colton Haaker that is leading the Progressive King of the Motos. That's that softball that could take you out. Here's the tracker as we're looking at it. Third lap, it'll be blue. So here we're looking number 22, Colton Haaker. Behind him, Cody Webb. And behind him, Tristan Hart. Now, we've got to remind everybody that Ron Como III, Manuel Lettenbichler looks like, but now let me clear something up. I've done this in the past, and I'm thinking, oh, he's gotten past, you can move back and forth, and this is where we see the guys that they might sit stationary for a little bit. You can see right now how steep this is. So the riders, looking back and going, okay, I got to get a good run, get a little bit of run, get myself.
He goes, hey, good works for Graham. It's got to be good.
Exactly. Away from now on. Now we are back with the leader. Number 22, it is number 10 on the side. This is through Chocolate Thunder. And look at the ground that Cody Webb has made on Colton Haaker. He was way down. Now they're going down Chocolate Thunder, not up Chocolate Thunder. Yesterday, a lot of guys had trouble with this in the vehicles. It gets to the bottom, it gets sandy.
Oh, he's looking at the bike like...
No, I think he was just looking down at the GPS, wanting to make sure if he was going left or right. As you can see, gets himself turned around. Have to work right, but once again, now he looks back, and who does he see? Cody Webb.
His nemesis is on him. Just sitting back and waiting to pounce if the opportunity arises. Colton. I don't feel so bad putting my feet down now.
I don't feel bad sitting on a bar stool up here in the announcing shack because I'm getting tired watching. But that was the problem when you were the first guy, that when you're breaking ground. Even though there's a lot of tracks from the trucks back and forth, and you see the people up there, they can give them assistance on where they can go, but they cannot help them. If let's say in a situation Colton gets stuck here, so now he's sizing up where he's going next, figuring it out, letting him know, get that bike out of the way. That's the way I want to go. It just gives a little bit of a, hey, move.
You're holding me up. The guy's coming. I don't.
This is very similar to what if you've watched. If you've watched Eresburg, and they have what they call Carl's Dinner, and I always thought it was Carl's Diner, but they pronounce it Carl's Dinner. It's a big rock garden. So now we see Cody Webb right back up there. So now these riders might kind of work together on what they're doing, and that's the advantage of Cody Webb's long legs. Picks it up, turns to the side. Do we need to go this way? Do we need to go that way? Or actually, is that Manny?
We're looking. No,
that is actually Manny.
Isn't it?
No, that's a KTM. That is Mani that's Mani Lettenbichler. It's in second place now. So we do not see Cody Webb as these riders have to work their way up and go up and around that corner. Now here comes, obviously, look at the long legs. Look at how he can reach down, work his way up. Now he didn't go around. Now notice how Cody Webb shot straight up the hill, probably made about, once he clears the top of this, probably made about a minute when it comes to the whole, I'm going to say probably about 20 seconds.
Now that move he just made right there where that was a trials move where he used the clutch to get the bike to pop.
Yep.
To get up and over.
They do make an aftermarket.
And that brings up.
Well, they got a hand brake
the
for the rear.
Folks have got a rear brake, hand brake.
Yes.
And there's a couple of guys. He got in a situation going up a hill. He grabbed the clutch and it rolled back, and he let the clutch out.
Colton Haaker as he works his way through. And at the top of Chocolate Thunder, we saw the leaders go through there. I'm going to bet that's going to take probably about a third of the field out, that they're not going to be able to make it past there because they have to make it back in so much time or they cannot continue the next lap. So the field is going to get smaller and smaller as it goes. As I talked to the track builder last night, he was saying in his mind he'd like to see 5 guys make it to the finish line. Situation worse and worse and worse. So the guys that are leading, they pick their way through. They don't tear up the trail that bad. They're working from rock to rock, as you said, between Manny, Cody, and also Colton. that they're using the little burst of speed. They're not just sitting there burning that back tire and creating holes in between the rocks. Now they both realize that they're going the wrong way. Now you see Colton Haaker. Now we have Mani Lettenbichler and Cody Webb take the lead. Colton Haaker is now back and looks like in 4th position. So we have a situation where they're getting confused. Now Colton Haaker is back. He found his way up the trail, and now you have completely different angles going through there. So this is what's great about this race, is that they're on GPS. They're not on specific trails.
Well, a little on the dangerous side. We try to keep, believe it or not, we try to keep this race as safe as possible. And
so there, so I'm sorry, Dave, but that's your lead 4 in the lower right-hand picture. It looks like Colton Haaker has gotten himself back out front, which, you know, I love that attitude with Colton. Is some guys might go, I'm going to sit back and let somebody else take the lead. I think Colton is one of those guys that's just going to sprint. He's never going to give it up. Nope. If you're going to have to take it from him, he's not going to give it to you.
You're going to have to run me down. You're going to have to beat me. Whoa. Riders are struggling. You're right, Rick. This one section here is probably going to be the go or no go section. And this is where the guys riding 4-strokes are going to be hating their life. Each other is what's going to happen. One guy's going to go, you know, if we all work together, we'll get up and out of this thing. And when you see how fast those guys are coming down through those rocks, that is just amazing riding.
Well, I could definitely together has been unbelievable.
That's
just willed us to get back up here. He's going down the hill.
I'm going to say.
So what those riders have chose to do is try to break a new trail off to the left because they're just tired of waiting. So, and there we saw somebody with a 250YZ Yamaha Kickstarter had to re-kick it, and then away he goes.
Now he's pushing instead of riding. That's where your energy just goes away when you're pushing. Pivot it. That's something everybody should try to practice. This is not the place to learn it, and you better come here prepared.
Okay, Ricky, we're going to keep giving you some break.
All righty, we're going to break in just a moment. We want to let everybody know that you are watching the right back with more Kicking the Motos action.
You ever wish you weren't a motor?
Sure. Sometimes I...
Reflecting on what we're seeing and what we're getting from the time, but what do you think about Colton as he keeps trying to run away from these guys, even when he makes a small mistake?
I think Colton's on sprint mode right now. He wants to prove to those guys he's really fast, and if you want to pass me, you're going to have to run me down. I live here for a long time now, living up in Idaho, but I haven't seen anybody actually physically helping each other yet.
No,
I say yet.
I guess it's called the King of the Motors. There's one guy, everybody's out for themselves. Yeah. And you're wondering why is this rider standing up? Because what he wants to do is he wants to apply as much weight to the back wheel as possible. So they're letting the riders know that you can go right or go left. They realize that they got to get up to that banner up at the top, and there's going to be 2 different ways. So this rider's like, no, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to go up the hill. The other guy's going to traverse, and that is what you do not want to do. Is try to drop to the. Is you always want to try to fall to the high side. See, notice how he leans the bike into the hill. That's the safe side.
Do they get into? Because they're riding the same bike that
a strip motorcycle. Because here's we're watching Mani Lettenbichler as he works his way through those orange Fox boots and that Red Bull helmet, and he looks like he is our new leader. Because I'm seeing no dust or no trace of Colton. We've seen in the past when you're talking about that with the no linkage, they'll fix it up with it. And here we're watching Cody Webb as he starts to work his way through. There you can see the drink system that it goes right into his mouth so that he can grab a sip as he goes. And that little fanny pack that's on his back is his camelback that is giving him that. And it's amazing how quick. We see a little bit of dust in front of him. So Cody is still running top 3, possibly second. We'll get clarification on that in just a moment.
Got a big shout out to Johnny Wiseman at the Ride Shop for dialing that in. He's doing all of the factory Sherco bikes in the United. I think that's Tristan Hart there in the orange. I think that's our Canadian rider. RPM.
They're obviously on the truck route that goes up and around, but watch, he'll drop back into the canyon, and that's another way that the big rock crawlers can work their way through. And that, I think, is where Lauren Healy, we talked to him earlier, had his first issue.
This guy rides motorcycles where you can't walk.
And notice on the pegs, balance, working that clutch back and forth, sit down for a little bit, get a little bit more traction, rest just a little bit, now back up out of the saddle. Well, and he has made such a big jump. We were talking about this earlier. His father, Andreas Lettenbichler, is one of the best extreme enduros, and since he's sort of calmed down and given his son a little bit more attention, Manny has really stepped it up as we're watching angles from both sides.
Anybody that rides this or finishes this is a hero.
In my mind, anybody that started this race, because where you started, Dave Cole started them at the end of the pit, there before back door, and it jumped them right into the action. So there was no warming up. They did that this morning in the preliminary prologue. We don't have the gap yet, but there's still probably 30 seconds separating everybody because they're all very, very tight.
I just enjoy watching him ride, how he's able to move his body and get that bike traction.
I mean, everybody would love to ride like one of the Lettenbichlers, but there's only about a tenth of a percent of the top pros that could ever ride at that level. It's like you make a comment about watching a dog in the back of a truck. It leans forward when you accelerate, it leans back when you decelerate or brake, and that's exactly what you got to try to. It sounds kind of funny, but imagine riding a motorcycle without your hands, and that way you'll minimize the pressure to your hands and you won't wear yourself out so bad. And help Jeff Stanton and help the different guys along the way. So I've always been able to verbalize what I see, but I'm not so good when it comes to pen and paper. So that's that. I think that was a strength for me, but it was a curse for me. You know, what I'm loving is that we're seeing a lot of the brands that you don't normally see here in America, like Beta and Sherco and stuff like that, because they're still very, very strong in the two-stroke market.
Out here in the desert. Oh no! You see this one rider, he's got a fanny pack that looks like he's got his lunch,
make it through on a dual sport.
Right.
Guess what? There's plenty of bike.
I was talking to Boyd, and I'm like, now what are you guys putting in the fanny pack for him and stuff, tool-wise? Boyd looks at me, he goes, I put in a rope, a granola bar, and a bottle of water, because he can't work on the bike.
Yeah.
Well, Destry wanted to go to 6 days. Well, guess what?
He had to learn
He's got to learn how to work on the bike. Here we go. This is our guy. That Manny coming down the hill?
Yep, Mani Lettenbichler, this is your leader. As we zoom back, we can see that Cody Webb is right there.
Chasing him down, he's just inside. Now you can see Cody where he's at. He's coming around the rock. He's probably less than 100 yards behind him.
And this is awesome. This is the kind of stuff that you only see mainly in stadium racing, guys this close. But
although I will tell you, back in the old KTM 500 days, we were out running speed tests down in Baja, getting jetting and everything ready. I tucked in, the air flew. Jimmy goes, the air just flows better over him.
It's amazing because he was so big.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, that is our two leaders. That is first and second place. Out in front is Mani Lettenbichler on a KTM. Cody Webb, that is in screen right now, on a Sherco. That is a French mate. They're all on 302 strokes, so it's not like the 4 strokes that you see in Supercross as they're watching these guys go back and forth, still conserving energy. They're probably going to wait to hold the push till the end. Now, you don't want to give up too much time because
WP tracks shock and fork. That almost looked like Colton Haaker.
That is Colton Haaker there. In NASCAR, they say, okay, we're going to come in for gas at the same time. That way, when we come back out, we have a vehicle to draft with it and go around. So Colton is one of those guys that typically just runs on his own and does his own thing. I love, also, if you're new to the sport, check out
and Justin told everybody at the Riders Meet last night, we've put markers out there, but that doesn't mean somebody didn't move them. You guys need to believe the GPS.
As we scroll through there, we can see everybody's pretty tight. But as we get up towards there, they're at number 11. That is Manuel Lettenbichler. And then, I'm sorry, Cody Webb is number 11. Those guys are two. They're right on top of each other. And then as we scroll back a little bit more, there's Colton Haaker. And then behind him is Tristan Hart. So now notice, two groups of guys working together. Now you can see that they're about 3/4 of the way back to Hammertown before they start their silver and gold loop. So watching as the riders are working their way through, what's going on below is, I think, one of the rescue vehicles. I don't exactly know what's happening there.
That looks a little interesting.
On the KTM going through King Shock Zone.
Red boots, baby.
It's the TV cameras following me, or you think what they'll do, the helicopter pilots will buzz you to let you know that there's somebody behind you. Tires that the other riders are racing, but they wanted to bypass a pit. So if you go with a harder compound tire, potentially, if let's say
I agree with you on that. I think there's a lot of guys.
But we've lost Hammer Steel.
Well, we're hoping we see Cameron out there, because I tell you what, just watching the, it looks like so much fun.
Yep. Until they take you through a section like this. You're like, really? Yeah. Exactly. So the first time I went down there, I found someone on the north side going into Bay of LA. I was pulled out so much cactus, and the first time it hit my arm, I grabbed it with the one hand. Now I had both hands off, and I hit the deck and realized that
now I just pushed it.
Everyone's having a good time. And now, there we go, a little partnership. Don't let the guy fall down the hill. Hang on to him, give him a little nudge.
Just giving him a little, whoops.
If you want to go get it, guys. Back there.
That's
so we're
right.
just trying to give as many riders as much love as possible. And as you said, like here, you see the yellow number 150 on the front, but on the side, he does not have that number. Also, you can look and you see he's got that strap that goes around the front fender. That's what you were talking about, Dave, when these guys get into a situation. Chris Reisner, as he works his way down, he's got the strap on the back, strap on the front. And as he works himself down, and if now the other power you can get, you need the rideable horsepower. And when you do this, as you're watching the rider up Chocolate Thunder, as he wheelies and gets that little squirt, you want the power in the right place. And
that's where the GPS just told him you need to get off the truck track.
Yep. You cannot go backwards on the course.
Those bars are way down.
Right, those bars are way down, but you can't go backwards on the course. You might have to use the GPS and take a shortcut to get out of there. With the leaders on the tracker at this point, because we could not see that time of it. So now we scroll up, and here we see Cody Webb is now your leader, with right behind him Mani Lettenbichler.
See, again, they did that switch deal where they were
they're going back and forth. Colton
Haaker
Haaker is in third place. Tristan Hart is in fourth. And one more is Mark Heater.